This would be an absolute steal for the Miami Heat. Based off brand new information from the Sacramento area, we have suggestions of a 1-for-1 trade involving Terry Rozier and DeMar DeRozan. I'm here to break down all of the new information and why the Miami Heat should absolutely jump at the bit to get this trade done if it's even remotely possible. We'll break down all the bits and pieces on this episode of Heat Digest, but first remember to stay up to date with everything Miami Heat by scrolling down and clicking the subscribe button, as nearly 90% of you guys watching this video are not currently subscribed. We do appreciate the love and support, so thank you guys, but now let's get to it and break down the best move going forward for this Miami Heat organization. As we discuss this Miami Heat team after the Norman Powell move and the resurgence of Kellan Ware, there hasn't been a lot of conversations about specific moves they should absolutely make. Yes, there are complimentary guys out there like Russell Westbrook and others that could be added to this Heat team strictly as a bench veteran guy who's going to lead the way on and off the floor, but not play substantial minutes to the point where they would be a star in Miami. Now, this trade in itself is good for so many reasons. The first one, Terry Rozier would not be a part of the Miami Heat organization anymore. Number two, they would bring another elite level scorer to this Heat team that would honestly, it would be a surplus of talent to the point where there could honestly be a problem with only having one basketball to play with. And that may seem funny, but when you have Norman Powell, DeMar DeRozan, Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, Kellan Ware, Andrew Wiggins, all on the same team, like, it's going to be hard to get that ball to everyone it is. But again, the contract situation is something we're going to discuss in just a second. But the idea that Rozier, with all of the flaws that he has going for him right now, since being acquired by Miami, doing little to absolutely nothing, literally little to absolutely nothing, and now he's in trouble for a federal gambling investigation. You do not want Terry Rozier a part of this Heat organization if, one, he's not going to statistically produce on the floor, and two, if he's going to carry this type of really light behind him with the idea that the feds are on his back, watching his accounts and making sure no one is gambling specifically on Rozier with insider information. It's just, there's a lot of athletes going down with this right now. There's a baseball is day after day, there's a new guy being added. One of the best closers in baseball was just added to not the IL, but the leave because of this. You do not want to see this consistently happening in any sport, and the fact that it is, they need to be they have to sit down until they are cleared entirely, and that has not happened with Terry Rozier. So, on to the actual report. NBA Central went on to post this from Sacktown Sports 1140, where we got a lot of good information. The first one being that there's possibly a handshake agreement between the Kings and DeMar DeRozan that they will move him if they acquire Jonathan Kuminga. So, if Kuminga from the Golden State Warriors ends up in Sacramento in a form of sign and trade, we could see Sacramento part ways with DeMar DeRozan as they try to go in a younger direction with someone like Kuminga at the forward position, really being the dominant scorer on the floor. But then, this host goes on to break down how not only there possibly is that handshake agreement, but a possible trade scenario, if they do choose to move DeMar and they do acquire Jonathan Kuminga, would be along the lines, and this is his exact quote, Terry Rozier and 2 second-rounders. Now, I don't know if he thinks this is a great move for Sacramento. I don't believe he was really pitching that idea, but the idea that they could go out there and get another guard, they could reset on draft compensation and get 2 assets for an aging DeMar DeRozan who still holds a lot of value without a doubt in the sense of his offensive production. But Miami, I feel like, would love to do this trade. Yes, they don't want to give up all of the two draft picks is huge. A second rounder as well as another second rounder, one in 2027, the other in 2031. The first one being a swap with either OKC, the Knicks, or the Spurs, and then the second one being a swap with Washington, and then in return they would get DeMar DeRozan. Now, DeRozan has had a long and illustrious career up to this point, and he's been very good, regardless of whether or not he's in Toronto, San Antonio, Chicago, or now Sacramento. He's done one thing very, very well, and that is score the basketball, especially from the mid-range as well as inside. He can score the basketball. Is he a great defender? No. Does he do a damn good job? Can he get by? Absolutely. There has been a lot of conversations in the past about DeMar DeRozan and whether or not he could end up in Miami. Obviously, it has not happened yet up to this point. But I believe if Pat Riley knows, and the rest of this Heat front office and organization is under the idea that is all that it would take to go out there and acquire someone like DeMar DeRozan. I'm not sure why they wouldn't do it. They not only would they move someone like Terry Rozier with all of the things that are going on with him, the lack of production, the federal gambling investigation, which he's currently going under. Like, if you could get that guy off of your books, move his contract off of your books, that would be a massive win for the Miami Heat. Yes, he's going into the final year of his current deal, where he's going to get paid $26.5 million this season before becoming an unrestricted free agent next season. That is going to happen, which means he's basically on a rental deal. And yes, they would have another year of control with DeMar DeRozan if this trade were to happen. They have this current contract, or this year's contract, of $24.7 million, followed up by next season with $25.7 million. So a $1 million increase in annual pay for DeMar DeRozan after this season going into next, before he would then become an unrestricted free agent in his age 38 season in 2027-2028. Now, if the Heat did attempt to actually make this trade, they would open up more spots. DeMar, I guess, would be the second string shooting guard in this case, if not sharing starting spots with Wiggins or Powell, depending on the situational matchup and overall health of the roster. It'd add a lot of depth. Like, you'd have more veteran leadership. There'd be a lot of scoring to go around. There wouldn't be any flaunt at the inability to score. The problem would be who's going to pass the basketball. Now, I would have faith in this team to get that job done. We've mentioned Bam Adebayo and the offensive output we want to see from him this season. This would take even more pressure off of him. Something we've mentioned about Kel'el Ware and his presence being in the starting lineup and playing more games consistently next to Bam Adebayo. It's going to free up Bam. It's going to be really good. And then you add Norman and Andrew Wiggins and Tyler Herro and the rest of these good stars they have in Miami. That's going to free up Bam even more. And it should work out. If you went on and added someone like DeMar, it would just be an overwhelming amount of talent. I believe everyone would be really excited. Heat would immediately start getting more respect, and that win, or that over-under on their win-losses this year would not be 37.5. That's for sure. But I think they're even getting disrespected up to that. If they add even more talent, I think it would be really, really exciting. At first, there will be a lot of question marks on who's going to be shooting the basketball and actually scoring the basketball because of the amount of talent and the amount of offensive production you have surrounding this team. But last year, going into last season, the Miami Heat had 4 20-point per game scores. Obviously, it didn't translate into having 4 20-point per game scores once that season actually took place. Rozier laid an egg. Herro turned into a facilitating point guard who still had great abilities to score. Bam Adebayo was a shell of himself. Wiggins was not a 20-point per game guy, 16 to 18. It was overall good production, but halfway point of the season. Jimmy Butler, obviously, before that. We know what happened with that Jimmy Butler saga. Overall, just a shit show in Miami with Jimmy Butler and the ending that actually took place between the two parties. Overall, the ending conclusion, DeMar DeRozan in Miami, is it a possibility? Yes. Is it going to happen? I would say probably not. But if Miami is aware that this is all it would take to go out there and actually acquire someone like DeMar DeRozan, I would hope they get it done. Because moving Terry Rozier would be the biggest part of this entire equation. I think it would work out very, very well for this Heat team. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know down below what your overall thoughts and opinions are on this mock trade, and I'll see you guys on the next episode of Heat Digest.